Hey everybody, Phil Kerner here, the Tool and Die Guy, and first I have to thank the Penn State Blue Band for that great intro music. They were here today, right here in the living room. Really costs a lot of money to bring the Blue Band into the house, and kids eat a lot. Listen, this has been coming for some time, and the reason it's coming, I really want to say, I hope if you're an engineering student or you're a shop owner, you'll either pay attention to this, or if you're a student, send this to your professor. And listen, I get the fact that kids are in engineering school every day, and they're really usually gifted in math, and that's a good thing. But the reality is, in the end, when you finish engineering, I want to talk a little bit about being a draftsman versus a designer. And if you're teaching a college course or a trade school, listen, you know, the best you can probably do in a few years is turn out good draftsmen. And the problem I have is a lot of places now seem to be hiring people who are really good at manipulating software, but they're not being trained as a designer. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here's the deal. You know, because I can run Microsoft Word and type up a letter to you guys, doesn't make me a writer, does it? Manipulating software and creating objects on a screen does not make you a designer. When I had a weird career track, which wouldn't shock any of you, but I originally started out as a draftsman. That was what I went to trade school for. Then I went into the tool and die trade with the experience of being a draftsman, then went back into design, okay? And after several years as a tool maker. I really enjoyed drawing, and my apprenticeship was spent as a draftsman under a real taskmaster. His name was Norman Reitman, and he was an amazing guy. He was a World War II vet, and he was a professional registered engineer that never finished college. That's pretty striking. Back in the day, I don't know what it's like now in Pennsylvania, to become a professional registered engineer, it was a 4-day test to answer 2 questions. Okay, this guy was brilliant. And he was a real stickler. He really taught me how to draw. And he did the design work. So what do I mean by the difference between a designer and a draftsman? In the real world, and I really want to spell this out because I kind of feel sorry for a lot of people now who might own a plastic shop or something like that, and they need a mold design done, and they go out and find or hire some kid who's got a 4.0 grade average and with an engineering degree, and this guy can whiz around the software and manipulate 3D models, but he can't articulate to a guy like me, a very simple man, what I'm supposed to do. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, on a base level, knowing the software, knowing your math skills, because you guys would always do the strength of material and the testing and know exactly what's going on. Without a taskmaster teaching you as a draftsman what they expect from you to articulate to the people who actually machine the parts, there's the big missing link, and it's gotten a lot worse. You know, back in the day, and I know that sounds old-fashioned, but I'm not kidding. If you're a college professor right now, and you can poo-poo this, but I'm not kidding. Very simple plate. You're going to design a fixture plate. And we put a lot of notes on our drawings back then. Drill and counterbore for half 13 screw. There was an industry standard. There's a chart for that. Every bolt is cleared by a 32nd of an inch, and there's a dimension for the head and the screw. You clear everything by a 32nd of an inch. I get handed drawings every day that are from AutoCAD, and everything is 3-place dimensions. The other day I got a very simple plate, and aluminum plate, 3/8 of an inch thick, with a bunch of 328 holes, 0.328. So I go in, I ask the designer, 3-place, 4-place, am I reaming these? Oh no, they're clearance for a 5/16 bolt. Now, in my day, my guy would have taught me to write drill and counterbore, or drill for clearance for 5/16 bolt. You know, we've gotten into this GD&T, geometric dimension and tolerance thing, where there's a symbol for everything. I know that's kind of the industry standard, and I kind of get it for production work, but for fixture work or precision work, just tell us what you want. You know, every week, almost every day, I go into the design office and like, okay, here's 6 sets of holes, 512, 328, 427, all 3-place dimensions. And I gotta believe AutoCAD can spit out fractional dimensions or notes drill and counterbore for 7/16 screw, drill and ream for 1/2-inch dowel pin slip fit, press fit. Okay, the slip fits are always 1/1000ths oversized, always, and press fits are always 1/1000ths undersized. It's just that simple. And if you put those notes on it, and I know the designers can say, well, you should know that. I don't know what the hell you're talking about when you give me a print with all 3-place or 4-place dimensions, because that's what AutoCAD spits out. So if you're a teacher out there, you can really do your students a favor by giving them a little lesson in just general dimensioning, which is in general dimensioning and notes, because there are industry standards for slip fits and bolts. That would solve 90% of the problems I have every day. They don't know that. And then the second problem we have is these kids come in from college, and with the benefit of a degree in engineering, there's nobody mentoring them. I had a taskmaster. These guys don't. They don't. They have, they're just handed rough sketches. The way this is supposed to work, ladies and gentlemen, and this is worth the price of admission, is a great company who is making and selling products should have a design staff. And that design staff should have somebody in charge of it. Once they finally decide what they want, and I know nothing's perfect, but they get it down pat, then the chief engineer needs to make sure that's articulated to the vendors correctly. Then, in a perfect world, the way it works is it goes to the vendor engineer, and he looks at these blueprints, or blueprints, I'm really dating myself, drawings, I think they call them now, or files, and says, missing some information here. The two heads should talk. What we've got right now, I believe, is a lot of inexperienced draftsmen talking to each other, and they're just doing everything in 3D models with no articulation of how to build it. It's costing us money, and that's why America sometimes, I think, loses on these projects, is because what ends up happening is, because China and Mexico can do things so much cheaper, they're willing to do it 7 or 8 times. It doesn't matter to them because the labor's so cheap. Listen, you know, we all live in America. We want to make a good living. So, you know, you pay us well, but all we need is good direction. So I would really encourage any professor out there or teacher, teach your kids or your students how to put notes on prints instead of just the AutoCAD spit out of 3 or 4-place dimensions. Use the industry standards on clearances and slip fits. Notes help a lot. Again, for the guys like us who have to build this stuff, we really appreciate just a little direction. Now I'd like to just move into a quick segue, as I talked about, so I guess let me finish, designer versus draftsman. I hope that, I kind of probably made that clear, but a designer oversees with much experience, 15, 20 years experience, an overall project. He has a general knowledge of what he wants to see this project to look like. There will be changes, but he's in charge of making sure his designers and draftsmen are doing what he needs and the overall project can be built. The toolmaker versus the machinist, almost the same concept. The toolmaker, and I've really thought about this a lot, so I've been working on this a while, and I thought about this the other day, difference between a toolmaker and a machinist, and I think I've tried this 2 or 3 times. You know, we've got a lot of people at my shop, like 150 people, and there's lathe specialists and there's mill specialists. The difference is a toolmaker can run any machine. And the reason for that is he makes the adjustments. What separates the men from the boys is the ability to assemble things. I know after my years of training and design that if you hand me 15 parts, and I've overseen a project and there's 15 different components, and all of a sudden, this one doesn't quite fit right. I have to make a decision. It's midnight. We're being paid overtime to stay late. What do? I know how to set up a whirly jig on a grinder and take 1/1000ths off a pin. I know how to go back to the lathe and face off 5/1000ths off a stop. Those, you'll never make money on me on a lathe or a grinder, but I can run a grinder and a lathe because I'm in charge of the assembly. So the toolmaker is the maestro of the manufacturing process. He's the one that's going to take all the instruments and all the notes and adjust them so you get a finished product, which is based on the designer making sure he articulates what he wants. So a great designer and a great toolmaker can do great things. A draftsman and a machinist is going to be a disaster. No offense against you guys who are machinists. You guys are a lot better than me. You guys could spit out these parts on these lathes and mills. You guys are the bomb. But the tool maker is the guy who's got to put it together. And it's 3 in the morning, and he's got to figure out, why is this a little tight? Why is this not going together? The customer needs this today. The boss is standing there. Is this going to go today? Let me dust off 1,000s here. Let me throw this in the lathe and take 2,000s off there. So the tool maker can assemble things, and he understands where to make the adjustments, and that's all based on a good design. So this is a lot tonight, but it's been on my chest a little bit. I'm not angry, but boy, it makes it a lot easier on guys like me who have to build the stuff that you guys design if I know exactly what you want. Okay? So hope this is interesting to you and maybe spells a few things out between designers, draftsmen, tool makers, and machinists. And we'll see you on the next video at thetoolandieguy.com. I'm Phil Kerner, and have a good night.